want to welcome everyone to today's webinar hosted by Caring.com. Today's presentation is all about how you can increase move-ins for the long term, for now and the long term, by aligning your marketing team and your content marketing. My name is Megan Mulrain. I'm a B2B marketing associate here at Caring, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's presentation. Our two presenters today bring a wealth of experience and knowledge about marketing, optimizing marketing teams, and content marketing. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, folks. Thanks for having us. I am going to introduce my friend, Sean Leonard. He is with Active Demand. And Sean is really dedicated in helping owners, operators, executives like yourselves with marketing strategies, marketing automation technology, and really knitting together how to quantify number of move-ins directly to your social media, content marketing, website, all of your marketing activities. So I welcome Sean, and I'll turn it over to Sean to introduce me.
Fantastic. Let's see if I can change the slide. There it is. Perfect.
We can change the slide.
Yes, it's working. Well, thanks, Wendy, and I want to introduce you all to my partner in crime here, Wendy. She's absolutely a subject matter expert when it comes to driving occupancy, helping with marketing processes. In fact, she is we're actually partnered. She handles all of our content here at Active Demand, which is a fantastic partnership. But yeah, Wendy is, you'll probably see her on the speaking circuit, or have been reading her books, or actually participating in following her on social media. She has a long history of writing fantastic content and that's engaging, and helping operators drive results.
Thanks, Sean.
So today, I'll just start off, and basically throughout this presentation, both Wendy and I are going to be speaking, and hopefully, and we're very, very thankful of you taking the time to listen to us. We're going to work very hard to ensure that it is a good use of your time. So if we think about marketing, the term marketing, as it relates to not just senior living, but I would say all marketing, it's really about building trust and engaging with an audience of people that have a need that you, as the marketer and the company you work for, services that need. And so really, no matter what you're doing, whether it's content, paid advertising, or any other type, wearing a sandwich card in front of the building, whatever, it's all about building trust. And with the changes in technology as of late, definitely with the advanced tracking capabilities, and definitely a buzzword today is AI, is really we have to think about the role that technology plays in our marketing activities to meet that first bullet point, is building and engaging with your target audience and building trust. So really, it's a case that with this new environment, really, hopefully today we're going to be able to provide you some insights from your peers, but also some good strategies and things to think about and that are actionable going forward, related to specifically content marketing, being able to measure it and execute, etc. So together, really, the idea here is, I think that number one is being able to connect the dots between producing fantastic content, the role the content plays in the overall process. I think we also need to, because things change rapidly, we'll build a vocabulary, common vocabulary that we can use throughout the presentation, and also to present some of our concepts. And really, the end of the day is that it's about measurement. We don't have unlimited budgets, and definitely don't have unlimited time. So it's the case that ideally we can come up with some good KPIs and measuring tools for measuring the effectiveness of content marketing. And we've also done some surveys, and we've surveyed your peers, and we have some fantastic insights as a result of those surveys that really, end of the day, is that give some insights into what others are thinking about with regards to the right tools, the right processes, and the right support to get better marketing outcomes. So I'll pass it over to Wendy.
Great, thanks, Sean. So I always like to start these lectures by really getting clear on what the challenge is. So when Sean and I conducted our studies, we found that out of 100 senior living owners, operators, executives like yourself, only 3 could rightly connect the dots between all the content that they were producing and actual move-ins. Only 3, it's 3%, right? So we figure, well, we could do better than that. These were the 3 actual quotes from folks who got it right. So one senior living executive from Ocean Township, New Jersey said, marketing drives traffic to our website and contact us form. Follow up from the contact form directly correlates to move-in outcomes. So it's, you know, the vehicle is driving from point A to point B to point C, and they can make that connection via follow-up calls and admissions. The next one that got it right was out of Humboldt County, California. And she said, we ensure quantifiable success by gaining a deep understanding of audience needs. I personally love that. If you've attended anything else from Big Buzz, you know that I'm all about collecting the data first. So I love that she's doing that. And then she says orchestrating content and then using data analytics to directly link content marketing to real business results. And it sounds like she makes it sound really easy, right? Where it's like, yeah, okay, so you run the marketing and then you look at the analytics. I was in a 90-minute meeting yesterday with a client who was trying to share with me how they were measuring. We haven't gotten yet into a reporting strategy with them. So they were just trying to show to me how they were measuring 90 minutes. And after 90 minutes, they still didn't have clarity on how they were doing it. So it's not surprising to me that only 3 folks got this right. This last respondent from Duval, Florida, I kind of gave them a pass on this. So she said, we define goals and metrics first, then create targeted content. There's a piece missing there. Like, again, I love that she defined goals and metrics, research and strategy first, then created targeted content. I'd love to see her add, and then we, you know, pull reporting monthly, or we go over our KPIs quarterly, right? So those were the 3 that got it right. So what Sean and I bore witness to by virtue of this study was that you know, owners, operators, executives like yourselves are producing all of these little content pieces that are going out to market, right? And then trying to look at, but what is it actually doing? And it's sort of falling flat. It's still in grayscale. Like, I don't really know what it's doing yet. So what we, go ahead. Yeah, great. Yep. What we, Sean and I have done this just long enough together to know each other's cues and then also be human. So what we found in this study was your peers shared with us what tools they're using, what processes they're using, and what support they're using. So 18% of your peers said their team does not have the right tools to achieve correlation between content efforts and marketing outcomes or move-ins. 21% said that their teams aren't well trained to maximize the use of tools. This is exactly why you want to work with an automation provider that offers that sort of support with process, which brings me to my latter point. The third sort of missing element that your peers pointed out was 23% indicated that they don't have strong outside support to really maximize that correlation. And I just want to add here quickly, I purposely made this my backdrop because what we're talking about here is a very small part of what I refer to as the marketing swell. So if this is the marketing swell, all your awareness marketing is happening up here at the top of the wave. Your nurture marketing is happening down here. How do I get my finger in the right place? There we go. Yeah. Down here, kind of in the middle, right? Where it's like people know about you, they're consuming your content, they're coming back to your website, they've been thinking about maybe assisted living or independent living for some time, right? Haven't had an emergent event, but they're kind of hanging out here in the middle of the wave. We want you to drop in to the wave, as it were, down to like getting people like intentional and deliberate about seeing you. And there's a whole litany of other things besides content that makes that happen. Sean and I had a long conversation about that before this session. So I just want to point out that we're sharing with you sort of the middle of the wave, but there are there's of course this bigger picture of this swell.
Fantastic.
Yes, back over to you, Sean.
Yeah, and so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the concept of content marketing. And one thing is, I would say that everybody that we've engaged with, whether they had a well-defined strategy and a well-defined measurement criteria, everybody's in agreement that content is a key part of a demand generation effort, specifically in where there's a longer process of longer engagement time to make a final purchase decision, like for example in senior living. And really, when we think about so everybody's in agreement, and it's the case people are producing content, and I've talked to some people with fantastic visions on what role the content plays inside their total meal, if you will, of marketing strategies. But it really comes down to this. It's really about producing content that engages with an audience that helps them make an educated buying decision or build brand trust or brand affinity as a result of dealing with the pace setters or the subject matter experts or thought leaders in specific topics. And so we write blogs, and I even when going through the process of interviewing your peers, it's similar. It's like write blogs, get the content onto the website, send emails, post on social, repeat, repeat, repeat. It's really about driving this content out for engagement, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much effort and how much thought and empathy and all the goals that we have for fantastic content. If it doesn't get to the audience and people are not consuming it, then it's pretty much not playing a role in the overall strategy. And something that we asked this during our survey, and I'm sure this is something that everyone should be thinking about, or is, did you ever wonder if all your content marketing efforts are actually turning to move-ins? And Wendy shared a story where, 90 minutes of investigation, and I've had lots of stories, very, very analytical folks that are really looking at the numbers and trying to understand what content is working and what is not. And yeah, at best with this, a lot of the traditional strategies, it comes down to really to inference, right? And so it's a case that on the survey, we found that 89% of your peers said they have a clear documented process for content marketing that is followed by all. And it's a case that 92% said that their organization publishes content marketing that makes them stand out from the competition. So definitely, I think, like I said before, is everyone that we surveyed agrees that there is a role that content marketing plays. And 94% said that their organization publishes content that is generally helpful to their readership. Now, if I really dig into each of these questions, I would argue that we all have very good intentions, and it's great that I think that everybody who's putting the effort into content really does want to genuinely help the buyers in their journey. I argue that it is a lot harder to execute is the reality. So, and when we surveyed your peers, it was the case that they all agreed that the content must be strategic to be valuable, right? Is that I actually had a meeting with one of my clients last week, and Natalie Addis, this is somebody who's with Marquee Health, that's very passionate about content and very passionate about really putting the human into health, and really spends a lot of effort on our marketing. And it's a case that it's in her goal when she's doing content, it's really about helping, right? It's helping somebody through the process, which I argue, whenever you say that, it is strategic, right? It's not just to meet your goals, it's to meet the audience's goals. And it's a case that arguably, again, this is their comments, is that it serves as a bridge. And I agree completely, it serves as a bridge between the audience who's consuming, and hopefully makes meaningful connections between the reader or the audience of the content and the brand, of course, producing the content. And it's a case that, and this is reality too, there's many forms of content. It isn't just writing blogs. I've seen some fantastic videos. I've attended some brilliant podcasts where people are sharing some very good insights that are meaningful and learning. And there's also events like this, which are webinars, right? Live engagement. But no matter what the source of the content is, it is a trust a strategy, right? Is that the objective is always to build trust between you and your audience, and possibly eventually, if that trust is built, that there's a longer relationship which involves the person moving in or purchasing. And really, it's a case that it is part of a well-balanced breakfast, so to speak. Content marketing is that it is not the only strategy. I argue content is more of an equity-based strategy. In other words, the effort you put into content, it is putting equity into it is a equity that pays off over the long run, right? It keeps paying dividends, unlike paid advertisements where you stop paying, it's the results stop, is the reality. So just going to pause here, is that we have an ebook that I argue is going to be quite useful for you. This is something that was put together by Big Buzz and Active Demand, and you can just use your phone to look at the QR code. Wendy, do you have any comments or insights?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say this is sort of the written guide to the session today. So if you have the inclination to share this with your team, certainly download this. And then I think we'll pause here to just answer any questions that have come up if you want to put anything in the chat. And there'll be another couple opportunities for questions as well. And we'll give you another opportunity to download this too. All right, well, we'll keep going then.
Okay, and I'll pass things over to my partner in crime, Wendy.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, so when we talked about common goals and KPIs, like, I mean, certainly by the time my phone rings or Sean's phone rings, it's we need more move-ins. Usually what they say first is we need more leads. And then we're like, well, what you really want is move-ins. But there are all kinds of things in between those, right? Again, going back to my wave analogy, it's like, okay, are people aware of you? Are they actually moving in with you? They're on the wave with you. Where are they? So when we asked your peers, what goals and KPIs do you set? More than 90% talked about increasing awareness, improving employee retention, which I think is really emerging, like since 2020, where we've just seen such a huge need for recruitment marketing and employee retention, internal marketing. So I'm glad to see that your peers have that on the radar. It's really, really critical that you take right action in marketing to make that happen. It's not just, we have a great culture and they will come. And then thirdly, they talked about,
Oops, sorry about that.
No worries. Thirdly, they talked about improving resident satisfaction, of course. And then more than 80% indicated an eye on, of course, driving occupancy and generating net new leads. And then again, this is where recruitment efforts came up. I'll just add a little asterisk here that I often, like I said, by the time my phone rings and folks are like, we need more leads, we need more move-ins, I always push back slightly and say, if you engage like a new marketing system or a new marketing agency or even just a new marketing approach on your own and ran it for, a year, 3 years, and the most that you achieved was higher leads or higher occupancy, I would say that probably your owners, your investors, you would be left a little bit unhappy about that, right? But usually it's a stability goal, stability in revenues or profitability. We are at the end of the day in business to make profit and of course, equally be good to our residents, but it is a business factor, right? So I just encourage you as a team to look closely at like, what is the real long-term goal? Is it in terms of revenue or profitability, is it a stability goal, a growth goal, or a scaling goal? Like, do you want to catch behemoth wave after behemoth wave? My light is going down. I'm now in the dark, but don't worry, I'm still on. But like, does your organization want to like open one large location after the other? Are you in scaling mode, or are you just in let's not drown mode? And that's okay too. Lastly, 74% of respondents mentioned they aim for nurturing current leads to become more intentional about touring. And again, that's the middle of our wave, right? That's where, you know, you've dropped in, you're aware that you're inside of a wave, but you're really trying to get the attention of sort of the people on the beach, if you will, right? And you're trying to drop all the way in. So you're nurturing them to become more intentional. That's where content comes in. I'll have you switch the slide. I'm going to see if I can get my lights back up. I think it's a motion detection thing. So if I sit still too long. All right. To drill down, we're sitting way too still. So to drill down from high level goals, 81 to 90% of survey respondents also mentioned increase in website traffic. This is a really great way to measure awareness, right? That top of the wave, top of the funnel awareness. Increased leads added to the CRM. Can be a really great way, moving to the third bullet, to measure marketing qualified leads. And with a system like Active Demand, I don't get anything for making a plug here. I'm just saying, like, we use Active Demand, and I could go into my system right after this and see exactly how many leads were added to the CRM, exactly how many are engaged in my marketing. And then, you know, if I'm in a position to have my team, you know, start doing some outreach in terms of sales qualified leads, I could find those avid readers. I could find those who, you know, are really, really engaged and who are ready for a conversation. And boy, that's marketing power. And if I get confused about how to do that, then Shay over to Active Demand does it for me, which is what I love. What I love. Anyways, so then this all becomes technicolor, right? It all comes into a little bit more of a colorful viewpoint where it's like, okay, I can see that we, you know, sort of this orange trend upward of the content that we've published over the last, say, 4 or 5 quarters. And because I've got the right systems, tools, processes in place, I can see exactly what it produced, and I can identify gaps, and then I can close gaps. I can also identify opportunities, and I can capitalize on those opportunities. It's, you know, in a way, it's sort of basic marketing, but I think we have, as marketers, we have so much data at our fingertips that it gets just plainly overwhelming. And I think with the combination of like the right system for content marketing and the right system for automation, I don't think, I know, because this is what I do for my own firm and for others, then you can actually correlate it to metrics. So we're going to spend the rest of our time together unpacking what are those systems and processes, and you can, there's a lot of things that you'll be able to just do on your own after today.
Fantastic. Yeah, and it's a case that back at the beginning, I'd commented on the changes in technology that are making things possible, and what role does technology play in something as personal, I argue, as content marketing, right? Because when somebody's writing something, this is from their heart, this is their person writing. And so what role, the good question is what role does technology play in the story? And let's just start with the basics of what about content marketing. If I think about content, typically it's like I said, comes in many forms, whether it's a webinar or a webcast or an ebook or blog post or what have you. In my company, what we focus on with the content is that its goal is to get somebody to the website. Right, that's the modern digital storefront, and it doesn't matter what the business is, the website plays a key role in the decision-making process. So instead of sending one, like for example, when I send an email or I do a blog post or even an ebook, it's not like I just had a snippet in a previous slide about an ebook. I didn't read the entire ebook to you right now. So typically when I think about content, I parcel it into what I call a content asset. And this content asset is something that I want to maximize engagement with. Right. So and the intent of this content is, again, to get somebody to read the rest of the story on the website, because the rest of the story is always on the website. My goal is to provide a compelling reason to engage with this piece of content. So when I think about the content asset, and you see this same pattern that I'm going to show you here, typically on a blog roll. Like if you go to your blog, if you have a blog on your website, there's going to be a blog roll or a blog grid or something like that. And really what it is it encapsulates this piece of content in what I call a content card, right? So the content card has a title, it's got some image that, you know, again, tells a bit about the story about, again, please come and consume this piece of content. Then there's some type of a pitch about the content. It's not the entire, you know, if I send an email, it's not going to be 30 pages long. It's going to be very quick and easy. This is what this piece of content is, and this is why it's important to you. And if it is important to you, it comes down to the last piece, which is the call to action. So it's some type of action that you're asking the person to take. So when it's a social post, you're talking briefly about something, and you go again to go to the website to consume it. So now if I have this content asset, it's the case that we can now drive this content asset into multiple different channels, right? So we can share it on social media. We can send it over emails. We can, again, put it on the blog roll. We can put it on pop-ups. We can do whatever, right? It's the case that, again, it's this single asset that that is the sort of the embodiment of please go to the website and consume and learn and read and et cetera, this piece of content. So now that we have this concept of this content asset, talking about machines and how what I argue the role of automation is, the first role of automation is to remove the administrivia of repeatable tasks out of labor. Right? It's if we think about manufacturing, and my background's in manufacturing, that's really the root of automation. It's we have people hammering and doing and moving things, so we build a machine to take the administrivia or the labor out of it, so that people can be more focused on using their brains, right? So with this asset, which is an object that was created by a human with passion and intent, now that we have this representation of it, we can introduce the concepts of content automation. And what content automation is, it's the use of technology to disseminate, share, distribute content amongst a group of people or an audience, etc. So it's really this machine that is driving the dissemination of this content and getting viewership of this content. So really, if we think about this from a high level, it all is always driven by the content. There's no machine in this story writing the content. But when a piece of content is created, it's encapsulated in a card, as we call it. And then whenever a card enters into the system, this drives the automation engine. So the automation engine, what it will go do is, just like I mentioned, is it will go maybe it creates social posts, maybe it automatically sends newsletters, or maybe it fills content libraries for those that have multiple communities, and they have people on the ground that are trying to build a personal brand for a specific building. This gives them, again, fuel to draw from to drive engagement at the local level. So it's a case that really now if we do use the machine or machines to disseminate the content, the nice side benefit, and this actually happened in manufacturing too, is that there's now tracking, which was never possible before. So with the advancements in technology for content automation, literally, not only are you able to disseminate the content using the automation, but the machine will also track on a per person basis what content is being consumed and how they are consuming it, right? So whether they're looking at it on a blog, engaging with social media, et cetera, it all comes down to, it isn't a stat. As soon as we start thinking about stats and treating people like stats, the human is left behind in the marketing strategy. So end of the day, though, is that if we are able to get the content to the audience and be able to see exactly which content is being consumed by who, then it enables us to do more sophisticated things like adaptive content, or really drilling back to if somebody consumed a piece of content and then they move in, it's a one-to-one connection. So really, the engine is really I know it sounds like machine, but it's the people writing this, very well researched. In fact, some of my clients are, they get clinician reviewed content. It's they take the content very seriously. But once this content is created, it's getting this content in front of as many eyes as possible. So it's a case that the content can be driven from one location and then through automation, disseminated across multiple communities. And that can, again, using automation, drive social engagement on a per community basis. I argue that it's really about building the brand for each of the individual buildings, and it can also, like I mentioned, drive newsletters as well, and it can give content libraries for each of some of the communities. If you have a great in-house marketing program for the community, again, it gives them something to draw from when they're trying to drive engagement. And then, of course, because we're using the machine, the nice thing about the machine is that it collects the information, and it collects the data, but people don't consume data. People need that data to be translated into information that is actionable. So it's a case that through this system, it actually collects all of the engagement from across a fleet of communities and centralizes reporting and automates reporting for, again, it's about, like Wendy said, there is a business involved. So it's about being able to provide the information to the right people who can make decisions. So really, stepping back, it's the role, I argue, the machine has in the content marketing strategy is really about getting, the heavy lifting of taking this, heavyweight piece of content and ensuring that it's in front of as many of the right eyes as possible. And again, the content is about, if your strategy is like many of the operators working with us, is to truly help somebody through a journey, then ideally, if you can get it to a person who is in need of that help, it's well worth the effort. And so the machine does the heavy lifting of getting it in as many eyes as possible. It also has, whether it's driving social media using automation or driving emails, or like I mentioned, being able to give global libraries that people in different communities can draw from. But again, the side effect of using automation in any marketing strategy is that it gives you fantastic insights into the individual buyer journeys. So you can look at any individual who moved in or toured and say, what was their content journey? What role did content play in it? Was it at the beginning? Was it in the middle? Or was it at the end? So it's really about, again, doing the heavy lifting for you. Now, how do we measure? And how do we measure success? And I asked that question at the beginning is, does the content effort, is it actually making a difference, right? And I argue that, of course, it makes a difference. Even if you can't measure it, it makes a difference, right? Is that definitely just people consuming the content, and there's easy high-level stats to be able to get on this, that it demonstrates an interest, right? Because I'm not going to spend, if somebody's spending 10 minutes to read an ebook or a blog post or downloading an ebook, they definitely, there's unless your title and your abstract are completely different than the content, it's the case that it demonstrates that this person has a very specific interest. And really, it's a case that their interests should drive what content is served to them. Relevant content definitely drives engagement and builds brand trust, because we're going through the process right now looking for a better care environment for my father-in-law. And it's the case that my job hasn't changed. I still am busy every day, and same with my wife. And it's a case that we're just like everybody in the same position, is we're in need of help, right? And those that give us the help, we remember. That's a certainty. And so traditional measurement of content performance, and I was at Smash this last year, and I hosted a roundtable discussion regarding AI and the data and buyer journeys, et cetera. And at the table, there was 3 operators and a marketing agency. And I asked the marketing agency, do you do content for your clients? And they said, absolutely, that's a big part of our strategy. And I said, how do you measure, the impact, right? And I'm sure if you've done any content marketing, this is common, right? Is page views, page ranking, maybe keyword search performance, shares, likes, impressions, reach, these types of terms, right? And all of these, I argue, are good data, right? They're good data points. But what is missing with this is the humans, right? These are numbers, right? It's the humans that are engaging in this process. And if you can't connect these individual stats to individual people, right, and understand the role that the content is playing in the journey, I argue you're not maximizing the return on the effort on the content. So if we back to the original statement is what really matters for the business is typically measurements that we're looking at is tours, move-ins, right, and definitely, I argue it's velocity, right? It's shortening the journeys for folks, right? It is a long journey already, but if it's a case that you can help somebody make the journey in less time, it's better for everybody, is the reality. So now, how do we connect the dots? Because it sounds, yes, Sean, I agree. What you're saying is something that would be super useful, but how is it done? And I argue, right, is that we should be able to make the connection directly between every piece of content that is generated and the goals that we have as for marketing, right? So how many goals did this piece of content actually have an impact on, or generate? Even generates a better measurement. How many move-ins, how many referrals? So this is really the goal, I argue, of truly tracking your content engagement and content performance. So really, it's tracking it on a per person basis. It should be the case that you can look at a single contact in your CRM or in your marketing system and be able to say, these are all the pieces of content that person consumed and how they consumed it. Because if you're able to track this, then you can do what the pace setters are able to do, is do adaptive content. So the appropriate content for this person's journey is presented to them instead of just spray and pray where we just send out content to everybody. I'm sure everybody wants to read this. It's a case that what is the content that is right for this person at this point in their journey. And it's exactly like I mentioned with our system that is definitely as capable. So it's a case that now, with regards to measurement, these are some, for digital marketers, the terms that I'm about to define for you are going to be well known. So, but for those that don't, it's a case that it is going to be a little bit techie here. Now, yeah, this is actually something of the models that Google use with GA4 today, right? As they look at attribution, and when we think about what the word attribution is, it's if we look at a goal or a move-in or a tour, it is what marketing effort contributed to that outcome, right? So when we think about attribution models, there's first touch, last touch, and session. So first touch is really what was the marketing effort that got this person to our storefront the very first time. So it's what brought them what brought them the very first time they came to your website. What was the attribution for that person? Last touch is, okay, they came to the website, maybe they didn't do anything, they came back later, then they filled out a form. It's that form fill, the first conversion, which we call last touch attribution. So it's a case that if I sent them an email, they clicked the link in the email, went and filled out a form, the email campaign is the attribution for last touch, even though we've been engaged with them for 6 months and they've been on the website already. And then finally, session attribution. And what session attribution is really the attribution for any given event, right? So they went to the website because of a social post they looked at. And then later they went to the website because it's the actual, that session that we're looking at from an attribution model. I argue for measurement of content and the impact it has on your marketing outcomes, it's first touch attribution. That is the important one. And why is that if we think about the goal of, like I mentioned several slides ago, it's the first goal, I argue, for content is to read it on the website, right? Go to our storefront and get the rest of the story. So if you subscribe to that philosophy, then really the highest impact a piece of content can have is it did bring somebody to your website for the very first time. Arguably, it plays a strong role throughout the entire journey, but if I'm measuring impact, this is indisputable, right? Is that if they read this article or looked at the social post and it was the first time they came to the website, and then they moved in 6 months later, I can actually give the credit to that piece of content. So it's a case that if we think about SEO, social, all of that stuff, is that, again, this is looking at my website, and I can see a couple of articles that Wendy's team wrote, and right here it's very clear, you know, how many conversions it's produced or how many new leads it's produced, right? It's having these measurements when it comes down to individual people. That's really the goal. Now, when we surveyed your peers about technology and the use of technology in the content marketing strategy, it's the case that definitely across the board, these are the three things that came out of the surveys. Is one, they all agree that whatever the technology is, it should be easy to use, right? And it reduces effort and doesn't increase effort. And number two is that the technology helps you deliver your voice, right? Is that it's and the company that you're dealing with is helping you with that process. And then definitely the number three, and this is something that you know, Wendy alluded to earlier, is that really at the end of the day is that it's got to be it's just like the content, it's got to be something that you can adapt to your goals and get the data flowing to the tools that you're currently using. And then there's a bigger story, of course, right? Is that if the tools add to the rest of the story, fantastic is the reality. Wendy, I'll pass things over to you now to.
Sure, yeah, thank you. And I also popped into the chat the link to this ebook that Sean featured earlier, and then I'm going to feature a couple of ebooks as well. So you've got all the links in the chat. So we'll keep moving forward here. Right, so I'm going to set you up with right processes that you can start implementing right away. So first, in looking back at the data that we gathered from your peers, we uncovered this marketing flywheel. So I'll just let you take this in for a moment. I'm not going to read it to you. But the 25,000 foot view of this is that your peers see that a portion of this is handled in-house by the team at the senior living property. And a portion is handled externally by oh, you know what? I didn't send it to everyone. Thank you, Jessica. Let me send that to everyone. There we are. And then a portion is handled by an outside agency. Carry on. And so this is just an example that I'm going to run through from an actual client that we work with. The goal of the content marketing, and again, I'm only in the middle of the wave right now, just on content marketing. Just the goal of the content marketing is to position Inland Christian Home, a senior living organization, as an industry expert and thought leader. What will that do? That will increase brand awareness at the top of the funnel or wave, right? It will create awareness of the offerings. And then when we keep at it and we keep nurturing folks, you know, down into the wave with you, then it's going to increase revenue. Next slide. So this is what a content path looks like. We've been talking a lot about funnel. We've been talking a lot about different areas of automation. There are essentially 4 areas of the conversion process, reading left to right on the dark blue boxes here. There's awareness, Again, at the top of the wave, there's consideration in the middle, and then there's decision, which is where you're surfing right down here in the barrel. And then there's monitor, that's keeping your current residents and family members happy. And you can align each one of those with a particular measure, with a particular business objective, particular content type, and you should, so that you're very, very clear on exactly what is the call to action in each one of these and what do we expect as a measurement, so that when you pull it up in your automation data, you could say, did we or didn't we? You're not just looking at a bunch of numbers going, I think it looks good. So the definition of content marketing, as Big Buzz calls it, is insightful articles or blog posts helping to explain a complex senior living related question. What you deal with every day is very, very complex to your family members and potential residents. It positions your community as a reliable expert. It includes all the search terms, takes a standard, offers a big aha moment. Again, I'm a big proponent of not littering the internet, like we're putting out content that really is going to impact these people and make a big difference for a decision-making process that they're in. And content blogs never, ever contain an offer, discount, or promotion. It's worth saying again. Content, insight articles, blogs don't contain an offer, discount, or promotion. It can contain a link to your website. But to Sean's point, what you're really trying to do at this, your main aim here is to position your community as a thought leader in order to gain trust before the first conversation even happens. And the minute that you introduce any kind of promotion, you've lost trust. There's a time and a place in the funnel for promotion. It's not here. And then in our case, each piece of content is typically about 500 words in length. Excuse me. I suggest that you take a screenshot of this. These are AI guidelines that we've put together for our team. Yes, you can use artificial intelligence to generate content. The robot will come up with what we call in the industry the crappy first draft. Do not publish that, please. I know that none of you are. But this is a really good checklist that we actually turn over to our writers to say, your piece isn't even ready for internal review until you've followed all of these checkpoints. Because you'll get a junior level copywriter who plugs it into ChatGPT and turns in something that is just a robot. We don't want any of that out in the market. So take a screenshot of that. You'll always want to align your content with your brand archetype. So in this case, there are 60 different possible brand archetypes or personalities that your brand might have. Next slide. For Inland Christian Home, their brand archetype is the caregiver. Not all senior living organizations are the caregiver. I know of one that is the Maverick, just offhand, but this begins to give your designers, writers a feeling that they can then convey to their target audience. We also look very closely at what are the strengths, the description, the visual style of that brand archetype, and we put that to writing so that whenever anyone is writing anything or producing any sort of content, be it visual, video, auditory, anything, that they're following these guidelines. We spend a fair amount of time with our client teams, and I suggest that you do this too, really brainstorming and aligning on who is our target persona, who is the one person that we are writing for. For Inland Christian Home, her name is Jane. She is in her 60s. She is the adult child. She's probably the eldest daughter, right? In her spare time, she likes spending time with family, crafts. We know all of this about Jane because Inland Christian Home works with the Janes of the world. You work with the Janes of the world all the time. When we go through this exercise, my clients always ask me 100% of the time, but can we have like 3 target personas or like 5 or like 7? And I'm like, no, because if you're writing to all of those different people, you're not reaching any one of them. If your main decision maker is a Jane, articulate in writing your target persona to fit the archetype of Jane. And then spend some time, again, brainstorm with your team. What are this person's challenges? And you can just keep scrolling. Fears. What are her main hopes? What are her main motivators? that the answers to those questions are your editorial calendar. Like you will have walked out of a 90-minute session with your team with an editorial calendar for the entire quarter. If you're publishing roughly one piece per month, right? 1 or 2 a month is what that generates. And then you can put it up on your blog, of course. And then to Sean's point, amplify that out via email, social. Yeah, you're good. You're good. I'm going to keep, you know how fast I go. So from the blog, then you have the opportunity to link to social, link to email, and please, yes, by all means, use a marketing automation software system, not a CRM, totally 2 different software systems. CRM is for sales down here where the server is. And automation is up here for the top of the wave. So you could get this feeling for, you know, for each blog post, there could be 4 educational emails. You just break it up into 4 paragraphs and push out, you know, 1 per week. Same thing with the social posts. If you're writing a longer format piece like a downloadable guide or an ebook, which I highly recommend, because secret that I've uncovered in my research in the industry is that only about 20% of your peers are publishing downloadable content on their websites. And the fear in the industry is, but that's offensive to ask them for their email address. And I would say, yes, it is, if the content that you have produced is not valuable. So you produce valuable content and you exchange, there's a value exchange, right? And you are only producing thought leadership, not promotional, right? You're honoring that value exchange. Then with that larger gated piece, you can absolutely start, you know, collect more data on what they're doing and what they're interacting on. And then you could break each one of those at the top of the wave for those people just entering the ocean. You can break those into many more blog posts, promotional emails, social posts, and amplify that out. So it's an entire system.
And we've been engaged with Big Buzz on this, and Wendy and her team have been doing, it's actually working, right? It's not just a bit of, you know, shelfware. It's a real strategy that produces results.
Yeah. And then here's what it looks like when it's done. So this is Sincere Senior Living. We've branded them. They used to be JEA Senior Living, and they have a cohesive look and feel. They're putting out similar content. Their position as a thought leader. They're regularly publishing content that creates a readership and a following, and moves folks down that marketing swell into interest with them. Another example, totally different fingerprint. Krista Senior Living, you know, again, publishing thought leadership for a very specific target persona that's different than Inland Christian Homes, and that really showcases their offerings. And then the last one that I'll share with you is Cedar Sinai Park up in the Pacific Northwest, again, with the right data in hand, having surveyed their residents and family members and really gotten down to the heart of like, what does this 100-year-old organization really stand for? It becomes very evident through all of their marketing. And then I have put, finally, and thank you to the person who reminded me that I didn't send that to everybody. I've sent to everyone the links to the ebooks. We have about 5-6 minutes left here, Sean, so I'm going to turn it over to you and bring us home.
Okay, thank you. Definitely some great content in those ebooks. I definitely recommend downloading them, and it comes down to the right support, because technology, there's always there is a bit of a, you have to learn, right? It's a tool, and it's a case that making the right choice on technology involves many factors, not just what the whiz bangs and widgets that it has. And through the survey, we found in the data that the majority of the operators are having staffing issues, right? And it's a case that large turnover, changes in the marketing teams, et cetera. So really, with that, is they absolutely need to be all the support they can get. And if you're just getting technology that comes with just the technology and not the people to help, then arguably it's going to be a longer battle is the reality. So it's again, not just communicating with your target audience and their family members, also internally is also another use case. So it's a case that if it's a case that somebody's asking about a specific, the question about technology, first one should really be about what is the support? How are you going to help me succeed with this technology was critical. So what does it look like? And again, with our technology, it's I have a very strong philosophy on building the community in the community. In other words, here in my city, it's a case I can mention many communities that my wife is a physician in senior living, and each of them, even if they're owned by the same brand, they're completely different, right? It's different building, different community, different geographic community. The people who stay there, some of them, grew up in a specific area. I argue it's really about building the community in the community and being able to drive results from the community level. So it's something that folks that are working with us, definitely all the assets can be personalized, even the content on a per community basis. So again, just whether same email campaign as you're seeing here, really it's about the bottom of the email has the specific social links. Yes, we have a goal of every community having its own outreach and engagement strategy. But let's face it, not all of them do. So it should be the case that each email that comes from a community or each piece of content that comes from a community really represents what that community has to offer from a content perspective, as well as social engagement. And then again, being able to report on all of the results is also it. So I will leave it at that. And really, I think I don't want to turn this into a product pitch. It's a case that my company, we sell technology specifically used in senior living to help people scale the marketing operations, get better marketing income, marketing outcomes is the reality. So I think I'm going to switch it over to do the Q&A here.
Perfect. Thank you all for sharing all this information. It was really great. I got a couple questions on sharing the slides, the recording. Yes, we will share the slides. We will also be sharing the recording after this, and in the email we'll include some of the links that Wendy has shared in the chat section, so you will have access to all of those afterward. We did get one question in there. I saw that Wendy, you had answered it, but I figured it'd be good to kind of share with the group really fast.
Yeah, I don't know if that went out to the whole group. Go ahead.
No, okay. So how narrow or broad should your select target demographic be on promoted social posts?
Yeah, so I actually, now that I read the question more closely, John, I answered a little more globally for marketing overall, but I think it still holds water. So I would say for promoted social media posts, really focus first on that real narrow target persona, like your Jane, like who is the most likely decision maker for your community. And then once you've built out that campaign, like definitely explore automation systems that can support you in that could support the community in going really deep with the Janes of the world without a whole lot of added effort from you guys. Like really good automation serves up the right content, social media, web marketing, for them to make that great decision, because the social media posts, the promotional social media posts are really top of the wave, right? Like, just look at me, like, kind of look, I'm surfing, come look over here, right? And then once we get them to see it, we really want to keep them inside that barrel. And that's where the automation comes in, where it's like, we noticed that you read about memory care. Did you read this part? We noticed that you read this part about memory care. Did you download this? Da, 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 da.
Perfect. Well, if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to reach out and ask them. You can reply to the email I'll send out. We're happy to get you an answer to any questions that you may not have asked. I want to thank Wendy and Sean, our presenters today. They did a great job. And with that, I want to let you all get back to your commendable work of helping seniors. And I hope all of you have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you very much.